here is that there are 21 entities that are discussed here. It goes on to Prithvivyam, Apsu, Agnav, Antarikshe, and so on. And there is one that I have marked in red box, which is Yaha Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtan Sarvebhyo Bhutebhyo Antaro Yam Sarvani Bhutani Naveda Yasya Sarvani Bhutani Shariram Yaha Sarvani Bhutani Antaro Yamayati Yeshata Atma Antaryami Amrutaha. So what that means is Sarveshu Bhuteshu. Bhutas. What are bhutas? So bhuteshu here, basically what it means is bhutas is an interesting Sanskrit word. There are various meanings to bhutas. The first one is the Panchabhutas that you know. They are also called bhutas, but they are jadas. But primarily, bhuta means that which has the capacity to uplift itself. Okay? That is called, that which has bhuti is bhuta. So it is the jivas. Jivas are called bhutas in the primary sense. Then you have Mahat Bhutam. Vishnu is called Mahat Bhutam. Yeah. So Bhuta primarily means Jivas. So what this particular mantra basically says is, in all the Bhutas, that is in all the Jivas, there is this Antaryamin who is inside it. But these Jivas do not know this Antaryamin. And this Antaryamin is the one who is very different from the Jivas, but still controls the Jivas' journey in their lives. Okay? So that is a key verse that gives you a hint and an idea as to what is it that I am getting at in my next slide. So as we move to the next slide, the same concept of the Antaryamin, I just want to, I put these two verses from Gita to remind ourselves, because we are doing Gita on Wednesdays. Chapter 7, 7th verse. Krishna says, Mattaha paradaram nanya kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam protram sutre maniganaiva. So even in that verse, he is talking about the sutra. Sutra is the thread that holds the universe together. So in the Antaryami Brahmanam, it started off with saying that the Mukhya Prana or the Vayu is the sutra, and inside that Mukhya Prana is the Antaryamin, which is a supreme being. And so he is also called the Sutra. And then Krishna here actually confirms that for us, saying, Mayi, I am Sarvamidam Protam Sutre Manigana Iva. I am holding the whole universe. Okay? And again, there is another beautiful verse in the 9th chapter. Most of you would be familiar with this. Maya Tatam Idam Sarvam Jagat Avyakta Murtina. This is Maya Tatam. Tatam means all pervasive, to pervade. That is the meaning for Tatam. So here Krishna is saying, I have pervaded the whole existence, avyakta murtina, and he says, I have a very unmanifested form, which means that I have a very non-material form. In my non-material form, I have pervaded this entire universe. So again, these two verses in the Gita directly link up with the Antaryami Brahmanam of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and then it gives us a confirmed view that as per Vedas, every entity in existence is pervaded by the Supreme Being, which also includes the Jivas. So this is something that we need to understand for today's class and the next week as well, to understand that Supreme Being, the witness as we call it, is actually sitting inside us. Okay? So now, yes, we understand the Jiva is different from the material body. So we discussed that last week. And inside the Jiva is the Antaryamin, which is the Supreme Soul or the Super Soul who is sitting inside. And then we also discussed that this Jiva has come into creation. And the creation of Jiva essentially means that it acquires a body. And with that body, it interacts with the external world. So that is the creation for the Jivas. Now, if you take the Taittiriya Upanishad, which said that, Tat Srishtva Tadeva Anupravishata, and as I said, the Brahmanda and Pindanda are the same, then we need to start thinking about this Pindanda, so this body. So, and we discussed this very briefly, I think, last week. So this body of ours has got 5 coverings as per Vedic philosophy. All the 5 coverings are made of matter. So that's Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manonmaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. So these are the 5 coverings of the soul. And inside the soul is the Antaryami. Antara Atma, as he is called. If Jiva is called Atma, God, Supreme Being, is called Antaratma. And then outside the Jiva are these 5 material coverings. Now, we also discussed how these 5 material coverings get attached to the Jivas. How did that happen? And again, Gita verse, I want to remind you of chapter 14, 5th verse, which gives you a hint. And we discussed this last week. We discussed about Shodasha Kala Purushaha. And we said how the Jiva, which is the 16th entity, has got 15 fences around it. The 17th, which is the Shri Tattva, basically links the Jiva to the material bodies. And then the 18th entity, which is Vishnu, who releases the Jiva from the embodiment of bondage. So this particular verse in Gita, chapter 14, it basically gives you an idea of the Sattvam Rajastam iti gunaha prakrutihi sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. So what that means is Sattvam, Rajastvam, Sattva, Rajas, and iti gunaha, these various gunas. So this matter made of these gunahas. Prakriti sambhavaha. Prakriti means Chaitana Prakriti. That is Sri Tattva, Lakshmi. She uses this matter, nibadnanti. Nibadnanti means ties, bonds, or binds. So Chaitana Prakriti binds these 3 gunas to the Jiva. Okay. So, and how does that binding becomes? That becomes the Deha for the body. Deha means body. But Dehinam Avyayam. But Krishna reminds us, but the Dehinam. Dehinam means one who is inside the body, which is the Jiva. He is Avyayam. Avyayam means somebody who has no death, who is imperishable. Yeah. So Avyayam, Dehinam, Avyayam. So 5 koshas. So what are these 5 koshas? We discussed those 5. Now to link it up with the 5 bhutas. So Aap and Prithvi. So these are the grossest form of matter. That is solid state and liquid state. They form the Annamaya Kosha for this Jiva. Annamaya Kosha is the gross body. It is the body that we have at this point of time. And you know, it is made up of what we eat and what we drink. That's what makes the Annamaya Kosha. Okay. Then Vayu, Tejas and Akasha makes the Pranamaya Kosha. Why do they make the Pranamaya Kosha? Let's think about it. Even a stone can have a component of a liquid in it and a component of solid in it. Even a stone, which is a jada, can have Aap and Prithvi. Whereas the livingness in that particular matter is a property of living beings. Okay. Why is that the property? Because living beings breathe. They breathe, they do metabolism, they do oxidative phosphorylation, and they make energy using air. Yeah. So in a human being, for example, we take in air, which is Vayu, okay, and we metabolize the oxygen, which is the heat that is produced. And how do we take in the air? We take in the air through our nostrils, through our windpipe, and so on, lungs, which is the space. So this component of air, space, and metabolism is a component of living beings. Okay, so that is what gives the Pranamaya Kosha for the Jivas. Now, it is not enough just being, breathing and having respiration and having Aap and Prithvi as Annamaya. We need to be aware of our own existence. Yeah. So I need to know that I exist, and I need to know that other things outside me exist. And I also need to be able to discriminate what is me, what is not mine, what is others, and so on. So these concepts, that is the Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankara, then becomes the Manonmaya Kosha for the Jivas. Then there is another component called Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is called Chitta. Chitta is the memory shell, okay, where all the things that we grasp in this life, they all go into the memory shelf in the subconsciousness. So that forms what is called the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Most of the knowledge that we grasp is we actually bring our memory from subconscious state to a conscious state. That is what is called knowledge really. So that's why it's called Vijnanamaya Kosha. So that is the Chitta state. Then the philosophy goes to say there is yet another kosha called Chaitana or Anandamaya Kosha. And this is the deep memory, as it's called. This could be the memory of not just this birth, but it could be all the imprints that you might have accumulated in several births. Your karma imprints are also in this particular subtle kosha. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this is, for us, we didn't discuss this much last week because it's important. And the other one is also to show, so these 5 koshas of the jivas, also, as I said, there is nothing in the universe that does not have that is not pervaded by the Supreme Being. So in Taittiriya Upanishad, in Bruhuvalli and Brahmandavalli, there is a lot of discussion in this. But also in the Brahma Sutras, Veda Vyasa, the very first Samanvaya Adhikarana that he has written is something called Anandamayo Abhyasa. So Anandamayo Abhyasa basically discusses this in great detail. So I would encourage you to pick that book, Vedanta Sutra, and read that particular sutra in the first adhyaya. Okay? So now every covering of the body is pervaded by a form of the Supreme. And the philosophy will say the Annamaya Kosha is pervaded by these, the 5 koshas are pervaded by the 5 forms of Vishnu: Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, and Narayana. Okay? So now I'm giving you a comprehensive picture of us as living beings. Our body, the 5 layers of our body is pervaded by the Supreme Being, Aniruddha Pradyumna, by the name Aniruddha Pradyumna, Sankarshana, Vasudeva, and Narayana. And within us as jivas, we are pervaded by the Antaryami. Yeah? The Antara Atma is also pervaded. So this Supreme Guy has pervaded every aspect of our lives and of our existence. So this key Vedic concept, I would strongly urge all of us to somehow engrave this in our minds. This is what we have not done, and that is the reason for all the problems of our lives, as I will illustrate in the subsequent slides. Moving on to the next slide, Abhijit.
HinduKnowledgeAcademy.com will celebrate Vedic culture and present its philosophies to the modern Hindu in an accessible format. Our ancient heritage is our greatest strength. Through preservation and dissemination, together let us spread positivity in the world. Thank you for listening and welcome to Hindu Knowledge Academy.